How does one switch from a long-term career into something completely different, starting from the bottom of the pile? How do you do such a thing? And more importantly, why? Hi, my name is Rick Higgins. Welcome to Mastering the Second Half. And today we're going to talk about just that very thing. How do you take the second half of your life and move it into a different direction? And of course, we got to chat about all the issues that go along with that. Now, I personally am in the process of doing this very thing, and our special guest today, Nick, who you will meet in a little bit, well, he's actually already done it. So he's kind of the voice of reason and experience, and you there watching this fine video, you're watching this because you're probably contemplating the same thing now, aren't you? So let's start this whole ball rolling by meeting Nick and getting the beginning of his story. You were of a certain age and you were at the top of your field, and now you want to move into another field, probably near the bottom. How do you do that and why?
It's an interesting question, and I think a lot of us probably struggle with that, those of us of a certain age who maybe see retirement around the corner. For me, I was in a position where I was running my own creative agency. So it's a small business, and what we were doing was creating content for a bunch of high-tech firms out here in California. And as I got closer to realizing that I had an option to kind of sell the business and get out of it, I started to think about, well, what is it that I can do or want to do if I'm not going to do this thing? And so that was a big kind of decision point for me.
Okay, the interview was actually quite long, so I'm going to cut in right here and kind of explain some things. Nick ran his own creative agency for 35 years, I think. He had always had a passion for health, for fitness, for living. And so he decided he wanted to become a personal trainer. So a lot of what you're going to hear a little bit later on has to do with his journey. So it's kind of a big difference, right? Going from, well, doing creative stuff to, teaching people how to be fit and how to live life. Now, he also has a YouTube channel, which there'll be links and discussion on later. Trust me, stick to the end, because we do discuss that. But enough of Nick. The question becomes, how do 50-plus people alter their mindsets? How do they deal with change, with fear, with the whole process? Because we've never done it before. Taking what you've done and where you are, because we got to talk about other people besides you and I, right? When somebody else comes up to you, for instance, you're helping them become physically fit. If you wanted to talk to them about the mind change, the mentality that has to happen to shift from the thing you've done for 40 years to something new, people are afraid, I would think, at times. Their change is scary. So how does someone push past the scary change?
I would completely and totally agree with you that change is terrifying in some ways. And for guys like you and me who maybe have been successful in our careers, the idea of kind of pitching that all and starting over can be pretty frickin' daunting. It's like, who wants to go from, the head guy to, the guy taking out the trash? And in a way, that's what changing careers was like for me.
And do you think it has any difference if there's passion involved? It's.
Oh yeah, I think the thing that you have to do. So what I really believe is you have to look ahead, and you really have to think about the thing that is not fulfilled in your current life, your current job. So many of us, have labored and worked at things that aren't our passion, and I would say most people don't work at their passion. Our passions are usually something that we do on the side. For me, when I looked forward about making a change, it was about, I wanted to do something that was going to help people. And this is something that kind of fit in that slot for me. I thought about it a long time before I did it. I rolled it around my brain. I thought of the pros. I thought of the cons. Some of which I thought about correctly and some of which I was totally incorrect on. But I did think about it long and hard, and I think that's critical, as you say. There's got to be a passion to it. There's got to be a reason to do it other than a paycheck. And I'm going to assume for most of us, we're going to be in a financially decent place if we're going to pitch everything and kind of try something new.
All right, this sounds pretty easy, doesn't it? But like I said a second ago, we've never done this before, and we've got concerns now. We've got budgets and lifestyles and salaries, and all of a sudden we're going to start at the bottom again? I mean, what are we? Are we in our 20s now? You actually segued into something really well, and by the way, folks, we didn't practice this, but he really helped. What didn't you know? You just sort of alluded to the fact that some things you didn't know happened. What are some fun things that, people go like, oh crap, I didn't expect that to happen, as far as, like switching careers, because
oh yeah, sure. Yeah.
We're not exactly as agile as we used to be, right?
Well, it started like, getting hired. Okay. So the whole environment of, the gyms and the personal training world is a very different environment that I was used to navigating in. And I'll never forget my interview where they hired me. The person who was hiring me at one point looked at me and said, well, you're awfully confident, aren't you? And it made me laugh because, I'm just so used to leading meetings and talking to people in my old job and doing all of that. I guess I kind of came across that way.
The person that asked you, I've got to ask, how young were they?
Oh, she was probably, dude, this is a great thing about this. She was probably 40. But that wasn't the best part. Okay. So I started, at this gym and I, as a personal trainer, you go in and you have to kind of secure your clients. It's very much like you get to eat what you kill kind of environment, right? So the first month I was there, I was at the front desk saying hello to people as they came in and trying to form relationships and make connections with people in a way that I had never done before. And it was at first really difficult, and I had to learn something totally new. But the really entertaining part of that, the people I was working with at the front desk, I think they were like, 22 and 28, or they were so much younger that I just did not expect to be exposed to that. And it was refreshing and energizing and really opened up my worldview in a way that I just was not even ready for.
So you actually find it refreshing and interesting does age matter then?
Oh, for sure. I mean, for sure age matters. But I think for me, it was, look, as much as we think there are these vast differences between people and their ages or their political affiliations or the part of the country they live in or whatever the hell it is, when it comes down to it, we're all kind of the same. We all want to laugh. We all want to connect. We all care about, the same stuff, family, our jobs, our careers. And these kids were no different. They opened my eyes and kind of blew up the stereotype of, oh, they're a certain way. I would say everyone is different, just like you and I are different. And it was kind of a blessing. It helped me relate to my kids better, just because my kids are about the same ages. And so that was like this benefit where it never occurred to me to do that. But it was really hard at first, sitting at the front of front of the gym and just really basically live cold calling people, completely uncomfortable, not used to it, not making hardly any money. It was a big change.
Now, earlier in this video, I touched on something. I used the word salaries and budget because that's one of my bigger things. And I asked Nick about that, and he's going to chat about it here in a second. But for me, I have a certain lifestyle. I have certain expectations, a certain budget. I'm used to buying things when I want to buy things. My family is used to that. How do you change that? Do you change that, I guess, is a bigger question. If you're going to change careers and not make the same salary, probably, how do you alter your life? Do you become a minimalist? Do you work 3 or 4 or 5, 6 more jobs? I don't quite know how to do it, so I asked Nick to see how he did. That's the part that sort of concerns me, and maybe concerns a lot of folks our age, is the money thing. Not to go into how to make money, but all of a sudden, if you're used to making 6 figures, and now you're competing with a 28-year-old for less, I got to imagine that mindset, knowing that you're not just changing careers and all of a sudden making the same money or more. That's got to be a strange feeling.
Rick, it's kind of like we have to think about our careers, your career, my career, someone out there who's watching it. I'm 58 years old. I spent, 35 years getting to the income level that I got to. And, and I was in a different industry. I think you got to be ready to work your way up from the bottom if it's something new. And that may be the most daunting thing for a lot of people. We think, men especially, we're freaking want to swing our weenie around. We want to be the biggest thing going. You know what I mean? It's like we want to be important. And second careers, if you want to get into something new, there are going to be people who, have put their dues in, and they're going to be ahead of us, and they're going to know more. And I ran into a lot of folks like that at the gym, where I thought I had certain things wired, and people much younger than me with a lot more experience than me taught me things that I luckily was ready to hear.
That's probably the secret. That's probably the biggest secret. Is just be willing to make those changes, to listen. Even as far as income, I'm thinking, just be willing to adjust your lifestyle if it requires. You think that's harder for older folks to be willing to change?
I don't know that if I wasn't ready to retire, fiscally ready, then I probably wouldn't have made the kind of change that I did, because there just wasn't enough money in it. If money is critical, then I think that you got to look realistically at that. If you're going to change careers, maybe being a personal trainer is not the thing you want to do.
Yeah, or a life coach, like I'm trying to do. There ain't money in that.
Right. And so someone watching this, I think they're probably in a position where hopefully they get to choose the next thing that they want to do.
Yeah. Okay, I want to recap a little bit about my story. Now, I'm a little hesitant to do this, and I cut a lot of the interview out because of this, but I want this to be about you. But I think if I tell you a little bit about what I'm trying to do, maybe it will put some of this into context. Now, here's the deal. I am in IT. That is my current day job. I have been in all aspects of that ever since I left high school. It's what I know. It makes a damn good salary. What you're watching right now is my passion. I want to become a full-time YouTuber. I also want to become a full-time life coach because it feeds my YouTube habit. And I'm trying to figure out how to make that happen and when. And I've got all kinds of plans, and I'm watching all kinds of YouTube myself to figure it out how. But I think for you, a lot of folks might be in my situation, because what are you going to do when you retire? Play golf? Help the wife garden, or help the husband garden? Sorry to be sexist there. How do you deal with that? And this is what I'm dealing with. And so let's go back to Nick.
There are no easy answers on this. And for me, I don't know about how long you kind of prepared for the YouTube transition, but for me, I started thinking about being a personal trainer before I started thinking about selling my business, because I knew that I couldn't keep doing what I was going to do, until I was 65. That just wasn't going to happen. I had reached the end of it, where it was no longer interesting, fulfilling. I suppose if I had to do it to make money, I would have continued to do it. But it became really imperative for me to make a change, and having a runway, having time to kind of think about it and then do the courses and prepare for it, and start slowly. When I started at the gym, I was still working my day job, but I was working 3 hours here, 2 hours there, the weekend. It wasn't like I just completely, cut the tether and just cut the whole thing over. I kind of eased into it. And that might be, something people want to consider as well. Can you dip your toe into the water and make sure that you want to go for a swim?
Okay, I mentioned this earlier. It was funny. We were in the middle of this interview and we were about done and we were getting ready to move on to something else. And all of a sudden, in a good-natured way, Nick, well, he did this.
Hey, hold on though. You
Yeah.
got to promote my channel, bro.
Oh,
I mean, if I'm on this damn thing,
I was
if
going to
you
cut
wanna-
that in later, but feel free. Nick, tell them who you are and how to find you.
If you're looking for me on YouTube, my channel is called Act Your Age, but that's not how you're going to find it. You're going to enter in my name, and I'm guessing it's going to show up like right down there. He's going to put it down there so you
Absolutely.
can see it. And it's not a health and fitness channel. It is a lifestyle channel. It is about taking care of yourself so you can travel and hike and walk the dog. Yeah, there is some exercise stuff, but there's also some travel stuff and other kind of generally fun stuff. The whole idea of the channel is I want to encourage people to go do stuff, and stuff doesn't have to be exercise. It's more about if you take better care of yourself, you can just do more of the stuff that you love for as long as possible. And I think that's really the goal here.
This whole problem could have been solved if my parents just had money. Why can't I be a trust fund baby? I would do well in someone else's mansion. I'm perfectly fine living off of their income, but no, I have to do this.